He's Charlie Ebersol. He's one of the co-founders of the new Spring Football League, and he joins us on the program. Good morning, Charlie. How's morale?
Daniel, fabulous. How are you?
I'm doing great. Tell me how you came up with the name of this Spring Football League.
We were talking about what our core belief was. And ultimately what we focused on was this alliance and aligning players, fans, and football. If you look at players and the leagues and fans and the leagues and media and the league, they're always separate entities. Well, what would happen if you align them? What would happen if instead of a commissioner you put an executive and a player at the very top of this together? You'd create an alliance, and the name naturally flowed out of there.
Is this in competition or in conjunction with the NFL?
Neither. We see it as complementary.
Okay. Now, can you come out of high school and play in this league?
No, we're going to follow the NFL's guidelines. I think the thing that we would never want to see happen is a 16, 17-year-old kid getting hit by a 25, 26-year-old man. Developmentally, physically, we really think the NFL has identified from a safety perspective and health and wellness something that should be observed.
8-team league right now. You haven't announced where those sites were going to be. What is it based on? Why are we waiting?
My father told me when I was young that if you have a good story, break it up into pieces and spread it out. Don't give up all the goods in one story.
Give me a morsel today, Charlie.
You're going to be very happy, Dan. You personally will be very happy about who our coaches are and who our cities are. We're going to start announcing next month, and if you were impressed, and hopefully you were, by the people that we've put together on that stage yesterday, you're going to be very happy and very impressed with who our head coaches and cities are.
Okay. Now, that's not that big of a hint here for me. So I'm thinking about if you did a Pacific Northwest, if you did Portland, if you did Birmingham, you're going to stay away from NFL cities, right? Does that make sense?
Not necessarily. Okay. Here's the thing we want to focus on. We want to focus on fan engagement. You want to look at places where, look, the thesis of this league is that on February 5th, there are tens of millions of Americans that stop watching professional sports and stop playing fantasy altogether. So where are the pockets of people that are most affected by football going off the air in terms of their level of engagement in other sports? This is not sort of putting our finger up in the air and seeing which way the wind is blowing. Mm-hmm. We really spent the last year and a half studying where we thought the marketplace was and how we could best take advantage of it.
Will you embrace gambling?
I think it's too early to say about where the world is going to end up in that. I mean, we're going to be the first league in history to have fully integrated fantasy, which will allow fans for the first time ever to play fantasy while they're playing the game. So when you want to, like I said yesterday, no fan watches a professional sports game the way they play fantasy. Who picks their player 5 days before, or the play they think the game's going to rest on 5 days before? They do it while they're watching. And given that we're going to build this Alliance app that people will be able to watch games for free on, while they're watching, it's fully integrated into the video that you're going to be able to play to play.
Will you compete with the NFL for talent?
No, that's ultimately what we see ourselves as think of it this way. Professional soccer in the world, right? You have the Premier League, you have the MLS, et cetera. They're not competing for talent. There's sharing. There's people that are playing on both sides. There are people that start in one place and end up in another and vice versa. We're an independent organization. The thing that I think is a massive misconception about football is look at another business. Look at a business that is as dominant as the NFL is in a space the way that the football is dominant in the United States. 6 times the number of people watch a professional football game than the next 4 professional sports average game ratings combined. But yet they don't operate for 6 months of the year. So from a business perspective, I look at that and say, okay, there are millions of people who exclusively watch football, and then they stop watching professional sports because it goes off the air. So I'm just going to give the people what they want. I'm just going to give it to them in the highest quality that's ever been done, and certainly in the last quarter century, by putting real football experts on the field. So it's not, thinking about the NFL as a competitor it's not applicable to the fact that we're not operating in the same markets.
Give me the salary structure for these teams.
It's single entities, so every player plays for the league, is contracted for the league. And then the players, what we looked at more was We want to take care of our players in season and then obviously after the season. So the players will make their base salary, and then they will have this bonusing structure that includes a win bonus, statistical bonuses, and other bonusing structure within the game that both the players that we've brought in, Troy, Justin Hines, and the executives, J.K. Bill, et cetera, felt in a modern sports league would not only incentivize players best, but also reward players best for what they were committing to. And then the last one is what we're going to roll out over the next couple of months, which I think is probably the most innovative side of our player fan engagement, is that we're going to have fan engagement bonuses. And what we look at is, the social relationship between a player and his community, both his community of fans, his local hometown community, his community of other players, et cetera, is something that not only do we want to reward, we want to galvanize. And so what we're going to build in the structure of players' contracts is the ability to have a multi-point 360 touch point with the game, their fans, and their fellow players.
We're talking to Charlie Ebersol. He's one of the co-founders, the Alliance of American Football. Spring football debuts in 2019. What did you learn from the XFL that can help you?
Well, I would go beyond that and just say, what have I learned from every attempt at putting football on the field in February? It's that you got to put real football experts at the top of it and let them put real football on the field. I mean, there are two ways in which I would not have announced if I hadn't spent the last year and a half with one of the greatest team builders of all time, Bill Polian, and if I didn't have a serious partner like CBS, who not only provided quality but the greatest reach. I mean, you're talking about America's #1 network for the better part of a decade. That those two things were essential to ensuring that I was going to put quality football on the field. And then secondarily, you have to have people at every level where both the fans and the players feel like you're making a real commitment and that you are attempting to serve them in the best possible way. And so by creating this structure where we don't have a commissioner, but we have J.K. McKay and Troy Polamalu at the top in equal footing to build something meaningful, we really believe that they're going to be represented. Diverse conversation, and I don't just mean gender or racial or sexual or anything like that. I mean diverse in terms of really significant different approaches to get to the same place is extraordinarily important in the modern era, and for some reason it hasn't happened in professional sports yet.
How would the action on the field be different?
Well, we're looking at plays. We're looking at changing plays where either the fan engagement is low or safety. And so, for example, we're getting rid of the kickoff for two reasons. One, it's regularly considered one of the most dangerous plays in professional football. But the second reason is because if you look at almost any study of fans, they say the most boring play in a game is a kickoff. The least amount of stuff happens. It's least likely to produce something interesting. And so we're getting rid of the kickoff. You're going to start with the ball in the 25. Obviously, if you get rid of the kickoff, you have to get rid of the onside kick. So what we're doing is if you want to go for the equivalent of an onside kick, we will give you your ball on the 35, on your own 35, and you'll be facing 4th and 10. If you convert, you keep going. If you don't, as Bill says, you're giving the ball back to someone knocking on your own red zone. So we look at those things. We're getting rid of the extra point. We want people to play on the field, so they're going to have to go for 2 points. And I think something that you and I talked about a long time ago in terms of speeding up the game, we're going to take the play clock down to 30 seconds. So, it reflects what's happening in the game already. I mean, most NFL offenses are getting to the line, 17, 20 seconds. They don't need the full complement provided by the NFL in the modern era.
You're partnering with CBS Sports Network. How many games will be televised each week?
One game a week. So we premiere on CBS the week after they have the Super Bowl. And then we have one game a week on CBSSN, which will run us through the regular season, and then the playoffs and the championship will be on CBS. Well, sorry, the playoffs will be on CBSSN, and the championship will be on CBS the last weekend of April.
Who's the commissioner?
We don't have a commissioner. That's one of the archaic structures that I think we looked at and decided we didn't want to have. But Dan, here's the thing, right? This is a fundamental flaw, I think, in thinking around professional sports. Professional sports are naturally a partnership of players and executives, right? You have two groups that have to work in harmony. Now, one, we eliminate that because we're a single entity structure, so the league ultimately is the corporation. So in doing so, we didn't have to put someone at the top of the league. I'm talking about the football league. So at the top of the football league, J.K. McKay and Troy Polamalu are on equal footing in representing both the game and the players. Troy will have as much say in how the game is being structured, in terms of the plays, health and safety, et cetera, and J.K. equally on the player side. Now, it helps that they both played professional football on both sides of the ball. And that they're both entering the USC Sports Hall of Fame this year, which, as a Notre Dame graduate, I'm still having trouble saying out loud, but we'll put that aside.
Well, they're probably partially going in because of their performance against Notre Dame there, Charlie.
We don't need to talk about things like that, Dan. We were having such a pleasant conversation.
All right. Hey, by the way, I got one word for you for the commissioner. If you decide to go commissioner, Gronk. Come join our party.
Oh, come on. You're never – look, that man is the most dangerous tight end I've ever seen in the game.
On the field or off the field?
On the field.
Oh, okay.
Listen,
okay.
Let me tell you another thing about professional sports. I think that you got to celebrate the players for what they do on the field, and then you got to look at what they do in terms of the community. All joking aside about Gronk, he's got a big heart, and he's taking care of a lot of people. And
I love
think
it.
that people focus on that side of it, but I look at the players that we put on the stage yesterday in terms of who our partners are, and you talk about the Justin Tucks and the Hines Wards and the Troy Palomalus of the world and the Jared Allens. These are guys who not only had phenomenal careers on the field, but look at the lives they built afterwards, not just their own, but the communities that they supported. I mean, Justin Tuck is supporting communities in New York, Oakland, South Bend, and Alabama all at the same time. That's the epitome of what we want to build. And at the same time, we want guys who are fun. Gronk is ready to come play in our league. We're excited to have Gronk.
Did you hear from the NFL?
I mean, look, given the people that we have involved at the top of this, obviously we are having conversations with everyone. When I first started researching this, I was not shy about talking to the NFL as well as the NBA and the NCAA and every other group that I had relationships with at the top of and that Bill did to really understand why they make certain decisions, why they think the way that they do. I mean, I think that one of the things that's super important to understand about what we're trying to do here is we're taking a holistic approach because we're not building a 1 or 2 year business. Certainly, our goal is to build a 7 to 10 year business because you don't really know if a business is real or not in the first 24 months. It's a ridiculous way to actually think about building businesses. And so the measurement of what we believe in is that we're looking at years 5, 6, 7 as the core focus.
Charlie, good luck. 2019, the Alliance of American Football.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me on.
All right. We'll follow up with you, Charlie. Charlie Ebersol.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.